Well, Australians are tipped to spend a record $1.3 billion today in Boxing Day sales. Huge crowds have gathered at major shopping locations across the country, with food, clothing and shoes making up the bulk of spending. Fleur Brown is the Chief Industry Officer at the Australian Retailers Association, and she joins us now in the studio. Thanks so much for your time. So it's been a tough year for the retail sector, but people still spending big on Boxing Day.
I think they're spending because it's been a tough year out there in consumer land. They're really managing a tight household budget, and so the sales events have been bigger than ever this year as a consequence of that.
And what are people spending their money on?
Well, household goods top the list, so that might be white goods, a fridge, a microwave, something for the kitchen or something for the bedroom. A lot of those sorts of items typically go on sale at this time. And then you've got fashion, also a driving force. But food was the second highest spending category, so many Australians staying at home, celebrating with loved ones through the holiday period.
$1.3 billion expected to be spent today. How do we get that number? How is it calculated?
Well, it's a mix of Roy Morgan's analytics machine, consumer confidence surveys, which are constantly updated, also spending projections from Australians themselves. And they've been doing it for a number of years now and been fairly accurate in each year. So we get to compare year on year, and we can see that spending's up a little bit this year.
Right, so we've got some data in already about what's happened there?
We don't have the actual spend data. We've got the projections based on what we did spend last year, and that tells us that in this period immediately post-Christmas, we're looking at about a 2.7% increase over 2023, which is a pretty healthy result in an otherwise tough year.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat unexpected, I guess, with the cost of living crisis happening at the moment.
Yeah, it's a end of year rally, which is great to see for retailers. It may give them some cautious optimism heading into the new year. Interest rates did not come down, and that's certainly, the eyes are on the horizon of February for that result. But we are seeing increasingly that Black Friday sales, Boxing Day sales are attracting Australians because they're working to a budget and trying to get those discounts and some value for money.
Yeah, you mentioned Black Friday there. Obviously, that's the other big spending day here in Australia. Do we know which is bigger at the moment?
Look, you can't really compare them. Boxing Day is sort of the gift for self, something for the household. Black Friday is a whole 4-day event with Cyber Monday, and then stretching beyond that this year. It's still got a lot of growth in it. It's a really buzzy event in Australia, and it was up 5.5% over the previous year, which is a really huge result in an otherwise pretty subdued spending year.
And do you think that this holiday spending that we're seeing at the moment could be significant enough to sway a decision about interest rates?
I'm not going to go into, I'll leave that very much in the hands of the RBA. What we would say is it's been a very subdued spending year overall for retail, and there's been pockets and spikes of activity, and this is one of them, but it is very much hanging off the back of a discount.
And how are retailers feeling going into 2025?
I would say cautiously optimistic is truthful, also exhausted. It's been a really intense year. Rise in costs of doing business across the board, a retail crime wave that's really had a huge impact on the well-being of the retail teams out there, but always hopeful, being retailers, and always quite resilient and agile.